How to really forgive. How do you forgive? And how do people forgive when they've had so much happen to them? Particularly abuse, whether it be verbal abuse or physical abuse. And particularly, and I've got goosebumps as I talk, children who I've worked with as a facilitator and seen them break through to the truth. How do you do that? So I'm going to share with you just some keys, because we're working at a workshop at the moment, and I'm going to share with you some of the keys that I've seen, and we have worked with hundreds and hundreds of people over the years, and all this material has come from what we have learned and what has worked in my life and in their lives, so that they can remove the layers of lies and feelings and emotions that are attached to those lies, the trauma, the frozenness that can dissolve, so they can really, really come to that place that perhaps they don't even need to forgive anymore because they can see clearly. Well, I wanted to start with just a couple of things that came to me. Was what do you really want? I've discovered a lot of people really don't know what they want. Do you want vengeance? Justice? What do you really want in the end? Where would that leave you anyway? Would that really leave you with peace? Or would that leave you with more guilt? Think about it. Because often we get so caught up in the emotion when something unjust has happened that we just react. And we just want to get back. And I'll show you in a moment how you can actually use those emotions constructively so that that can then lead you back to what you're believing, and then you can then hear the truth that really profoundly changes. Murder and hatred, revenge, anger, to compassion. I've seen it over and over and over again. I was with people just even a week ago in the circumstances. One day I maybe will share. And because of the circumstances, they've said to me, I just want to murder the person. So much hatred, so much murder. And I get that, and we need to acknowledge that. So I'll show you how to deal with that. Sometimes we can just listen because it's not appropriate to do anymore. But I can take you further because you're willing to listen. You're open. So what do you really want? Most people I've discovered want peace in the end and a sense of dignity and respect. Would that be right? And would vengeance and revenge do that? And as a result of receiving everything you ever wished and hoped for, how would you feel? And so that's really what I was saying a moment ago. You got the vengeance, you got the justice. You saw the person that hurt you, cop it. Sweet. Don't you hear that a lot? I just wish they could feel, something would happen to them. It's like actually we curse other people. And it would leave you feeling guilty, I suspect. Very guilty afterwards. And that doesn't help anyone, doesn't help them, doesn't help you. And words have a power and they become like a curse or a blessing. So really what I want to do is invite you to be open, to really be open to what are the blockages that happen when you really get hurt. What really, really stops you from moving on. Otherwise, you can be like I used to be 30 years ago, on a roller coaster ride, feeling okay one minute and feeling shocking the next, waiting for someone to trigger off unresolved emotions and feelings, and I'd get up a little bit and come down again. Anyone ever been on a roller coaster ride like that?
Yeah.
You don't know what to do when you're at the bottom of that roller coaster ride. Don't know how to forgive, don't know how to forgive yourself, others, or your Creator. Right, so there's a little pamphlet, How to Really Forgive, which is in Peace, Presence and Power, available through Agape Encounter. And I remember one particular story which I share with you from a girl I'll call Sue because the names are changed. And Sue came to me and shared with me, she came to get clear because whilst things are still inside us, they keep coming back to us and upsetting us. And she shared a story about abuse by her father as a child, which is, as you know, it's all out in the media at the moment. But she came to me because she was sick of feeling it and feeling all the shame that was attached to it and being stuck in it all. So she was ready, she was open, and that's all you need is to be open and ready. And as we were going, this was years ago, and as we were going through what do you feel as a result of what happened, of course it was shame and blame and guilt. And what do you believe about yourself? Well, dirty. That's usually the thing that holds it together. I'm dirty. Maybe it was my fault. That's the thing that often holds that all the feelings of abuse, because there's that doubt in some form or some way. So I accepted all of that in this case, and she said, but I really want to forgive, but I can't. And I, at this stage, years ago, didn't have a clue either. So I just had a little conversation to the one who knows everything and said, well, what do I do now? Because I was I've learned so much over the years as I've asked and listened. And I heard, give her my capacity to forgive. She hasn't got it, but she wants it. She's open, she's ready, she's had enough. So I said to her, would you be willing to take the capacity of Jesus? I didn't even know whether she believed in Jesus, but I thought, well, I'm going to say what came to me. And she said yes. And the moment she said the yes and closed her eyes, there was a power beyond her that flowed through her into that memory. And it was like all the shame and blame, the doubt, the accusations against herself and others, it just dissolved. And you could see in her face as though she was having a total makeover. Because when you have a transformation within, it also affects you on the outer part of your life. And this was from her past. So she was given that capacity beyond her. All she had to say was, use her free will muscle, yes. And I saw a miracle happen. She walked out the door like a different person. A memory was still there, but all the pain and all the blame and all the associated beliefs about herself had gone. A memory without all of that. So that's how you can forgive when you really want to forgive but you can't. But remember, what did we do in that process? I remember walking down the hallway one time at home. You know how things keep coming back, as I just talked about with that girl. This particular situation that had gone on in my life kept coming back to me like an irritable little chipmunk in my ear, going on all the time. And so I just said, because I often have lots of conversations with the one who created me, so I've forgiven. How many times do I have to forgive? You know, why does this keep coming back? A slight bit of frustration. Looking down the hallway. Because I've done all the right things, you know. They were doing that to me. And so I then listened. And as I listened, I heard the words, but you haven't told me how it felt. And I went, okay. I learned a massive lesson that day, that he wanted to know what it had done to my heart. He just didn't want me to do the literal, I forgive. Yeah. He wanted to hear the damage that it had done to me in my heart, but more than that about my personal worth and value and all the emotions that were still associated with that. So that's when I learned, like with this young girl, that I needed to go back and say, well, okay, and this is the wonderful thing about the ease and grace of doing this, is I ask the spirit of wisdom and justice and love to show me, reveal to me, because I don't know where I'm at half the time. So it showed me, as a result of what happened, what do I feel? You see? And all the feelings started to come to me, anger, resentment. It was all buried in my heart. Anger, resentment, obviously there was unforgiveness there, and what was it associated to? The belief that as a result of what happened in that circumstances, that I was left feeling of no worth, of no value, abandoned. Now when I got to that belief, the emotions led to the belief, then I listened. So I just said, so what is the truth? How true is it right now? I am of no worth. And I listened. And there was this knowing, like a really deep knowing. This is a real relationship and conversation. That was not true. Like it just didn't dissolve the emotions with it. What about being abandoned? I feel abandoned by the person and the situation. And I got this sense of presence that was there with me because I was being so open and honest and vulnerable. And with the presence, I thought, I don't feel abandoned anymore because there was this presence, this was peace that came because I had allowed feelings to come up, allowed the beliefs to come up, held it, and then I allowed myself to listen. Very simple way. So I looked at that girl. Oh, and gaining three-way perspectives. Oh, I love this. I used to be a goody two-shoes, so all my feelings and emotions when I get angry get buried. But then you become like a time bomb. Anyone ever relate to that? So you just get one little tiny thing that comes and you react to something that's ridiculous. And it's just so irrational. And that, I call it the honey on the cornflakes. When we were travelling with somebody, put a bit too much honey on the cornflakes. And I went berserk. I thought, what's that about? And when I stood back from it and looked at it, it was out of total frustration because of the person always holding us up when we were travelling, and we'd done everything we'd known how to do with it, and I just cracked it because I hadn't gone back to the Creator, to the one who could bring me peace despite what that person was doing, which I later learned to do. So the three-way perspective, this is a very safe way. I've got to teach you this because I share this with you. Very, very simple, and I'll give you by an example. I was in a meeting one day, and this is a way to forgive. And I remember this particular person was really quite disrespectful. Just the way they spoke and what they said was just inappropriate in a meeting. And I had these feelings rise up. Anyone ever here have feelings rise up in you occasionally? Mm-hmm. Well, this is what you can do with it. I was aware of those feelings. Because once upon a time, I would ignore them. I was aware of them and I thought, I need to take myself aside, go outside and deal with it. It takes 2 minutes when you aren't clogged up deep down. And I went out and I said, okay, I'm really cheesed off with that person. That really was disrespectful. That was awful. So I said, show me what I'd like to do to them. So I brought the person into my mind's eye and I said, what would I like to do to them? Again, I asked him what I'd like to do because half the time I'm not really that honest. I mean, I kind of want to be honest, but I still want to be good. And that gets a mixed message. So I asked him, so what would I like to do? And this is like a real confession. So, right, I'd like to kick him in the shins. So in my mind's eye, in the presence of the one who sees everything, to get rid of it, the intention is to ultimately get rid of it so I don't do it. I did it in my mind's eye to this person. And then I told them how I felt and how what they were doing made me feel. And then when I was finished with that, I felt, anyone ever feel better after you've expressed yourself?
Yes.
Sometimes you do things you wish you hadn't done and you feel better. A lot of people are very abusive people, always feel great the next day, and the poor victim's left in a mess. If they only knew how to do this, it would stop all of that abuse. To go aside, take responsibility for their own feelings, do it in their mind's eye, and then listen The second perspective is the other person's. And when you empty, you make space to be able to see. So again, I ask the one who created the particular person, what would they say back to me now? And to give them a voice. And when I look at them, they're usually huddled up in a little pile, feeling very sorry, and I just feel my anger's turned to compassion. So that's the second perspective. It can be that quick. Try it and see. It's so much fun. And it will do no harm. It'll stop harm happening. And then the third perspective is asking wisdom and love, justice, God, whoever you... To me, it's all one and the same. He's all one and the same. Anything else that you want to show me about that person or myself or the situation. And I get, because I'm clear, I've got unclogged, I can see more. But more than that, I'm left with a sense of being able to go and face the person, and none of that's there. It's all gone. So relationship, unconditional love can occur with that person, but a real relationship can happen. Do you understand what I'm saying? And there is a time sometimes to discuss it. But that's another topic on relationships, which is another big topic. So, what do you reckon? Are you willing to give it a go next time you get upset?
Absolutely.
So then what you do is take responsibility for your emotions and feelings. You have a right to feel the feelings. You have a right to feel what you're thinking and believing as a result of what they're doing about your worth and value. And remember, your Creator will show you. And then the second one is, then when you've emptied all the feelings and all the beliefs about your worth and value, listen to them and listen to your Creator. As in the booklet, it's in the book, if you forget. Very simple. 3 perspectives. Did I know about that once? No? Oh, did I ever wish I did? So it stops relationships breaking down. And of course later on you realise you often do a lot of the things the other perpetrator does anyway. We can often do very similar things. 3-way perspective. So in the end, is there a need for forgiveness when that happens? In my case with this guy, there was no need to forgive. My way of getting to clarity and getting his perspective and whatever else, and really more than that, having a voice, there was no need to forgive in the end. It sort of, the process itself took care of it.
Dissolved it.
It dissolved it all. I felt compassion. Do you need to forgive when there's compassion?
It's like really seeing with the mind of Christ.
It's really seeing with the mind of love, of unconditional love of Christ. So that's another way. It's only one page. It's amazing how much is in here. Okay. Resolving pain, hurt, unforgiveness and memories. Now, in my case, I couldn't understand why I kept on feeling alone and abandoned. Anyone here ever feel alone?
Yes.
And abandoned? Now put your hands up, because I know. Got to be open only. Good on you. A good 3/4 of the room. So I felt that a lot. And it didn't matter whether people were there or not, but it particularly happened, the aloneness also attached itself to a sense of abandonment. And it wasn't logical. Anyone ever have feelings and it just is not logical?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Okay, so again, because of this, our work is to make space and to make a pathway free so that you can be free of the past. We do the same thing. We deal with our feelings, our beliefs, feelings of anger, resentment, abandonment, aloneness, and then we listen to the truth. But in my case, I had to go back to memories. How do I do that? It was simple. I just asked the one who created me, I'm feeling abandoned, I'm feeling alone, I'm feeling angry, and I held it. You just hold it. You don't. I used to run from everything. Now I stand and look at it and feel it, and I let myself drift. I let go, and he took me back to what I call was a childhood memory, very early, very early. And when he took me back there, I felt all the same feelings I was feeling in the present, which is only, remember, consciousness is only 5% of you, the rest is unconscious and subconscious. And in that memory, I felt in the dark, alone, blank, abandoned. And as I asked the Creator, actually someone was facilitating me at that time, for which I was grateful. we ask, is that the truth? Is she alone? Is she abandoned? Is it her fault? Is she responsible? All this stuff was still deep within my memory, ready to be triggered off when something similar happened. Experience the light, experience the peace. And I was able to go back to the present situation and look at it totally different. In fact, so totally different. I never, ever, ever feel alone ever since. Never. I never feel that aloneness I felt or that abandonment. So I don't even need to really forgive the person who left me in the alone, abandoned place in the present. Do you get it? I was full of this presence, this light that I experienced, and it's just filled up that space that was filled up with darkness before. So that person in my life was free to do whatever they want, and his whole life changed within 2 weeks. You know, the business was sold, we got a beach house, and we were always together. Did that fulfill me? No, it was a pleasure, which comes and goes. It's a pleasure. People can never fulfill you, from my experience. It's only the truth from the one who is already deep within you, who wants you just to hear it, so everything else can dissolve. So we're not getting to a lot of forgiveness here, are we? Because by the time we've finished, it's all gone. Isn't that beautiful, though? These are ways around forgiveness. Truth, justice and forgiveness. Now I hear people say to me, but it's not fair. They shouldn't get away with it. It's unjust. You know, we prayed, we did this, and that still happened. What do you sense? Anger. Resentment. I can't trust him, her, God, because it just doesn't happen how I prayed for it, how I wanted it. Did you hear what I just said? How I wanted it. And sometimes we ask for things that are not wise, so now I've learned over the years is always to go back and get his perspective and saying, now I'm asking for this, what would you have me ask for? Because when I get in tune with the very mind of the Creator of God, wow, stuff starts changing in your life. He wants the very best, and he wanted more for me, not less. And I had to go through a lot of trauma, a lot of challenging circumstances with family and sickness, etc., before I understood. Understanding came afterwards. That he wanted me to be free as well as the other members of my family. He wanted them all. And that to me is true justice and true forgiveness. And again, when you go through the process I just said a moment ago, you deal with your own, take responsibility for your own feelings. More often than not, you can find that you don't even really want them to suffer. You don't want the other person to suffer because you've suffered, you know what it's like. But remember, justice will be done in the end. We always reap what we sow. We always get back what we do. Has anyone here ever discovered that you can complain about somebody or something and what they're doing, and if you're open and you're aware, conscious, usually within about a week or two, you discover you're doing the same thing yourself? Yeah. Anyone else here ever done that? Yeah. So that's, justice will always be done. So they will always reap. Ultimately, it doesn't look like it. Some people have said to me, but it's not fair. They've got wealth, they've got this, they've got that, and they're getting away with it. Anyone else here ever felt like that? Maybe. Ultimately, they won't. Because it will destroy them. It will wake them up to deal with stuff properly. Ultimately, they won't. It's just a law of the universe. The amazing benefits of forgiving, what do you reckon they are? Physical belief. I had one woman who had to forgive herself because as a little girl she took on the made the decision, this is where decisions come in, that because of someone ignoring her when she had something broken and then no one had taken any notice and she was suffering. And she made the decision in suffering that I'm not going to let other people suffer. What a decision that is. Do you know what that did? that made her take on that word, I am responsible. That no one in my presence is going to suffer. Is that possible?
No.
What does that do to you? It almost kills you. Instead of listening to, I suffered, now what can I learn from that? And how would you have me, as a little child, you don't know to ask the questions and listen, you know? But as an adult, she was able to reveal this to me. And her back was so painful. Often, when you're overly responsible, you'll have back pain. Anyone have back pain? Yeah, and it's often across the shoulders. I used to have my right shoulder, it's gone now, thank God. And I used to go like this, because I was, in a saviour role, or being responsible for so many people, instead of allowing them to take responsibility and asking for wisdom to send. He's light and grace and truth there to make a change. At the end of the session, when I took her through her as a facilitator, and it was revealed her feelings, beliefs, the decision she'd made, she had to forgive herself. Because she had done it to herself and she didn't realise. But there was so much gentleness and mercy. And in the end, I said, what's happening now? And she said, there's something in the top of my head, and it's going right down the back of my head, right down my back and out my toes, and the pain in my back is gone. She walked out with no pain in her back, and she was ready to have an operation on her back. Because of the responsibility, the decision to take on responsibility beyond her capacity. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. Was that light? Very heavy. So be mindful. Be responsible to listen, ask and listen for help. You don't do it on your own. Through-way forgiveness. Who do you need to forgive? Others? That's obvious. Yourself? I didn't know that for a long while. I was so stuffed up with memories and a lot of unresolved feelings. I always thought it was their fault. Have you ever been there? Where you feel like it's their fault? Yeah, so maybe it is their fault, but what are you going to do with it so you can use it to get free anyway? And then later on I discovered it. It was my fault too. Because of the way I was reacting, I was responding, the way I wasn't taking responsibility. My unrealistic expectations of myself, etc. It's in the blockages chapter of the book, Peace, Presence and Power. So, and the third one, so there's others, yourself, and who else? Our Creator. And I know God's got a really lot of bad press at the moment. And he was the I am. Use I am. Use presence. Use love, wisdom, justice. Those things are all what we call the spirit of justice and wisdom. One young man said when he had an encounter with his darkness and his memory, and he experienced the light in the darkness, it all dissolved, and felt himself held in a hand. And I said, you want to know whose hand it is? Now he didn't believe, he didn't know what he believed in. I said, what about truth or justice? He said, I'd like truth. So I said, well, ask the Spirit of Truth to help us. And in the end he ended up in the hand, and he said, so what's it like in the hand? He said, it's so safe and secure. Whereas it was so alone before and so scary and terrifying. And in the end, he opened his eyes and he says his name's Jesus. Like, who's he? Like, I don't know, I've never met him. And he said to me, this is better than drugs. The experience of going from terror and fear in that memory as a child to feeling the presence and the hand, just holding him, is better than being on drugs that only numb it out and do other horrible things, as we're seeing with ice at the moment, to your mind. So what do you think? And he used to be on drugs. And just to finish off with medication, there's a time for medication. And so you need to be wise, and you can ask wisdom to guide medication. My children were on medication when they were very sick. And I remember coming out with a box full of them at one stage and saying, I have no idea what to do with these, or how to get rid of them. Please take over. But see, I was open to asking for help. Whereas I was doing it all on my own strength before. I was going to do it.
Yeah.
That's my kingdom, my power. So it didn't work. Okay, so 12 months later, all of the medication had gone. But there was a place for medication for one of my children for a period of time, and there will be for you maybe. So be wise about what you take. Look at the results, and maybe that'll help you go through. Maybe you might need to be on it for the rest of your life. You might only need to be on it for a short period. But ask wisdom and love to take over. Deal with your feelings. Get unblocked.
Can I say that forgiving the person or saying sorry to myself, in having expectations of that person, also helps forgiveness to come into a relationship because of my own expectations.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Geraldine. For those who are listening to the video, somebody in the audience just said when she finally realised the expectations she had on herself
or the other person, and she forgave herself. We do not need expectations, we have hope instead of expectations. Unrealistic expectations kill people as well, are driven. And then this person said that as she forgave herself for those unrealistic expectations, then she was able to forgive others for their unrealistic expectations on her. See, like attracts like, that's the law of attraction. And then relationship could happen, mercy could happen, hope could come. Forgiveness, when they fall over and do the wrong thing or let us down, and forgiveness for yourself when you let yourself down. Is that gentle?
Yes.
Is that kind?
Yes.
Isn't that where you want to start? And the only person you can start with is who?
So.
Yourself. So you're learning to grow up and take responsibility, no more pointing.
I also found letting go of expectations of them, that I expected something from them, and when I let go of that, the expectations I had on them, it helped me to forgive them too.
Yes, so she's just saying for those who are listening, when she had expectations of others and let go of those, as I said earlier, again the relationship improved. It just all the walls start falling down. Another time, and I want to finish on this is beautiful. I remember because I used to spend an hour sitting in silence because I wanted my life to change, and I thought, well, I've been told if you sit in silence and listen to yourself and listen to your Creator, it helps. So I did for an hour, 2 hours a day, regularly. I made a decision for life, and everything began to change. And during one of those quiet times, I heard in my mind, and when I say I heard, thoughts come through my mind. Go and say, forgive these number of people. And I said, me go and forgive them? But it's only 5%. Like, they need to ask forgiveness from me. 95%. And you would never feel like other people need to come. And so I reluctantly went, out of obedience, to these various people who had taken advantage of me, abused me, either verbally, and been awful to me at times. And I said, well, you've got to show me what I've got to go and ask for forgiveness for, because I figured all I could see was what they'd done to me. So I went along, and with each person I went to, and each is a story in its own right, and you can imagine how I went in fear and trepidation, having had abuse from them before. So I went along, and I just said, well, you've got to go before me and be with me. And I would go and ask, look, I just want to say I'm sorry because I wasn't there for you as a sister or as this or that or whatever else. And the way now I realise I could have been or should have been. And I found in each case, you couldn't see it, but you could feel it. Walls fell down in our relationships because I took that step to ask for forgiveness for something, the tiniest little thing. And then all of these walls, and now I've got this respect from all of these people that I used to be abused by. So I encourage you with that. Listen, who are you to go back and ask for forgiveness from? But remember to ask wisdom and love to go before you and to go in divine timing, and only when you're at peace. So they'll pick that up. And don't go into justifying
Look, I ask you to forgive me for not doing this, but you were a pig. Do not do that. Because straight away you begin to hurt and wound again. And it destroys your ability to at least begin to make amends. Like each new moment's a new moment, and I want every new moment to be a new moment. I don't want to carry the baggage. And to remember before I showed you the dynamic of the child who was abused by her mother and told she was useless and no good, and then at school, then later on at work, then later on with a husband. It started off well but then became abusive. So it repeats itself if it's not resolved. And you're left feeling useless or no good or guilty or bad. So if something repeats itself, you know it's deep within you, the child is clamouring and banging on you, asking you to listen, and then listen to the Spirit of truth and love. So you can be like this. I should say it's an absolute delight to stand here to share with you how wonderful are those relationships now to what they used to be. But I got this image, and I might leave it with you. Unforgiveness is like a clenched fist. I was shown this once. And it's so tight that the skin is being pulled off. You know, have you ever seen, I'm not really doing the justice to the image that I got, but it's the skin of, and that's I'm right and they're wrong. You know, they need to, and I want to murder them, you know. You know, it's vengeance, it's revenge, and it's justifiable need for vengeance at times, but we need to do it with the Creator and ask Him to do it so it will be fruitful for everybody in the end. Or you can be willing to open up and to deal with all the anger, resentment, hatred, murder, and whatever else, and the sense of being like a nothing. And then discover that you're everything, and be open to hearing the truth. And look at this, look at the hands. And you get to experience mercy yourself and unconditional love. And then you can let that flow through you to those who've hurt you so badly. And it'll make it easier to forgive once you've heard yourself and let go. Thank you for listening. So I'm just going to follow on something that we're teaching, a workshop of people who come through Agape Encounter in Victoria, Australia. Just to show you what we've learned after years and years and years, and hundreds of people are facilitating them, asking the one who created them wisdom and truth and love as a result of what's happening in their life, how they're feeling, what they're believing, so they can break through and make a pathway free to really experiencing the truth that's already within them, under the layers of lies and emotions. So we're actually going to demonstrate this on the board, and you may be able to get it. But what we do say as a guideline, always, always, ask the Spirit of truth, the Spirit of love, wisdom, God, Jesus, to guide you. Do not do it, I recommend you do not do it on your own. You'll be deceived, you'll trick yourself, you'll get stuck, you'll get confused. Confusion means you're in your own mind. But when you ask for wisdom, the one who created the whole universe, to guide you, you ask and you listen, you ask and you listen. So this is an example of something that we discovered years ago. I'm going to write it down and then I'll come back and talk to it. Is that okay? You look and watch. Mm-hmm. I'm making it very simple. Okay, that's one. Went down to it. These are memories, childhood. The angry gone to rage by this stage. And she was a childhood. She was given a boy doll. And in this particular case, she was a girl baby, and accepted herself as a girl. Okay, and she was seen as a tomboy, treated like a tomboy. Boy, in this case. There's nothing wrong with boys or girls or simply different sex. So she began judging. That's the reactions. And herself. Third one, you can see how it goes down. From there to there, marriage. Again, same old anger, rage. Up here is unacceptable. Oops. Right, marriage, anger, rage. It just flows on. And she became responsible to make it all out. Took on a role, which almost killed her. Driven. This is the outward working. Exhaustion. Now, the belief in the thoughts here was I don't think she really knew who she was in the end. She saw herself just as responsible all the time. And she always felt guilty. Okay, that's enough. Okay, so just to talk to that, if I might. The situation, this is the one person who was born as a little girl and she wanted to be a little girl, but her parents wanted her to be a boy. And she just sensed and knew that. As she went back to the memory, she got angry. She believed that she was wrong and unacceptable, didn't understand why. And even as a little baby in a change, I have to become acceptable. You take that sense of being responsible again on. And in her childhood, she was given boy dolls. And it used to make her very, very angry and enraged. She would throw the doll down because she didn't want, in her case, she didn't want a boy doll. She wanted a girl doll. Other people wanted her to be a boy. She wanted to be a girl. So, and she was seen as and believed that she was a tomboy. She became as the others saw her. And she judging others, and she was judging herself in the end. So it just becomes more and more complex as you get older. Marriage, she ended up in anger and rage and guilt. That's the feelings that led on to discovering that somehow she's responsible for everything. But in that responsible feeling, it was always her fault. It's always her fault. That's a very, very simple one, and I've made it very simple because it gives you a sense of how it can start as early as a little baby and it can go on into her childhood and then into her marriage. And you can see how driven and responsible she becomes and exhausted. And it doesn't work until she went back to the original memory and experienced the truth. All this dissolved. Now, I do have to say to you, it takes a little while for the roles. And the roles we can take on are I'm responsible. We can become a scapegoat, a victim, a mouse. These are all the different roles we can take on as a result of what's happened. A caretaker, a saviour, a procrastinator, a victim, or we can become a bully. Bullies are actually very insecure as a result, usually. So that gives you a sense of you need to get the situation first, you need to ask about the feelings in your case, which could be totally different, and my experience is a lot of people are out of touch with their emotions because they don't know what to do with them, and they are used to take you back. As a result of my feelings, what am I believing? Please show me. Please show me, Creator God. Spirit of truth. And then you get a sense of what the beliefs are. They hold the emotions. When you get the truth here, and when the truth comes in, it's really like a light. A lot of people experience light, truth, presence. All of this dissolves. The memory's still there, but it all literally dissolves away. Except the roles take a little while. Because we become programmed. And you'll know if you're in your role because it becomes exhausting and it doesn't work. And it doesn't bring love when you're in a role. You need to be your authentic self. This is becoming your authentic self. This is being real. But you need to do it in a safe space. You do never ever open up to other people to share this sort of thing unless you are respected and valued and you feel it's a safe space. So this actually, if it works out okay, you'll be able to see it on YouTube, and it goes very much with the other talk that's on YouTube on how to really forgive. So if you want to know more about this, get in contact with agapeencounter.org, and I wish you the very best. Please remember to let love and wisdom guide you. Thank you.